Am I the jerk for having my mother-in-law escorted out of my wedding after she showed up in a white dress? This happened 3 months ago, and my husband's family is still not speaking to us. But there's a twist to this story that I only discovered last week that changes everything. My husband Mark and I got married in September after dating for 4 years. Throughout our relationship, his mother Linda has made it clear she thinks I'm not good enough for her precious son. She's made comments about my job as a teacher, saying I'll never make real money. She's criticized my appearance, my family background, and even told Mark he should date other people before settling down. When we got engaged, she tried to convince Mark to have a long engagement, suggesting we wait at least 3 years. When we set a date for 10 months out, she told everyone we were rushing into things. During wedding planning, she tried to take over everything. She wanted to invite 80 people from her side when our venue only held 150 total. She demanded we use her church instead of our chosen venue. She even tried to pick my wedding dress, showing up uninvited to my dress appointment with her own selections. We set firm boundaries. We told her she could invite 25 people, we were keeping our venue, and my dress was my choice. She threw a tantrum each time but eventually seemed to accept it. She even called me 2 weeks before the wedding saying she was excited and wanted to put the past behind us. I actually believed her. Wedding day arrives and I'm getting ready with my bridesmaids. My maid of honor goes out to check on guests arriving and comes running back, face pale. She tells me I need to see something. I peek out and there's Linda, Mark's mother, wearing a white lace gown. Not ivory, not cream, pure white. It had a train. It looked bridal. She was literally wearing a wedding dress to my wedding. I immediately told my wedding planner. She went to speak with Linda, politely suggesting she had made a mistake and offering to help her change or find something else to wear. Linda responded loudly that this was the dress she chose. It cost her $2,000, and she had every right to wear whatever she wanted to her son's wedding. Several guests were already staring and whispering. My wedding planner came back and asked what I wanted to do. I was shaking with anger, but I made a decision. I told her to have Linda escorted out by venue security if she refused to change. The wedding planner went back with this ultimatum: change or leave. Linda refused. She started crying and screaming that I was a bridezilla, that I was trying to humiliate her, and that what kind of person kicks out the groom's mother. My wedding planner signaled to security. 2 security guards approached Linda and asked her to leave the premises. She was escorted out screaming the entire way about how I was ruining her relationship with her son and that this was abuse. Mark was getting ready in a separate area and didn't see any of this happen. When he came out for the ceremony, he asked where his mother was. I told him quickly what happened. He went pale but said we'd deal with it after. We got married, had our reception, and it was beautiful. But in the back of my mind, I knew this wasn't over. The next day, Mark's phone was blowing up. His entire extended family was calling him, saying I was cruel, vindictive, and controlling. His aunt said I showed my true colors. His grandmother, who's 90 years old, called crying saying she can't believe Mark would allow his mother to be treated this way. Linda herself sent a 5-page text message about how I've stolen her son, and this was my plan all along to isolate him from his family. Mark has been supportive. He said his mother crossed a major line, and he doesn't blame me for my decision. But he's also devastated because his family has basically disowned him. His father, who I actually get along with, is caught in the middle and is barely speaking to either of us because Linda has made home life hell for him. 3 months later, we're still not invited to family events. Mark's sister got engaged and specifically said we're not welcome at any wedding planning or the wedding itself. Holidays are coming up and we've been told not to come to Thanksgiving or Christmas. Linda is telling everyone who will listen that I'm abusive and controlling and that she fears for her son's safety. Now here's where everything changes. Last week, Mark's father showed up at our door unannounced. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. He asked to come in and talk to us privately. He sat down and started crying. I'd never seen this man cry before. He told us that Linda has been in therapy since the wedding, which we knew. But what we didn't know is that her therapist diagnosed her with early-onset dementia. She's had it for about 2 years, but it's been progressing. Her father had dementia and died from complications related to it. Mark's dad explained that Linda's increasingly erratic behavior, her obsession with controlling the wedding, her emotional outbursts, these were all symptoms. The white dress incident wasn't malicious. Linda had it in her head that she was supposed to wear white because in her confused state, she thought she was renewing her own vows. She genuinely didn't understand why people were upset with her. When they escorted her out, she was confused and scared, which is why she was screaming. Mark's dad started sobbing, saying he should have told us sooner, but Linda made him promise not to say anything. She was terrified of Mark knowing she was sick. She didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want him to see her deteriorate. She thought if she could just make it through the wedding, she could tell him after, but then everything fell apart and she was too ashamed and confused. He showed us medical documents, brain scans, doctor's notes. It was all real. He said the therapist explained that Linda's hostility toward me over the years was likely part of the disease. Dementia can cause personality changes, paranoia, and irrational fears about losing loved ones. Her obsession with Mark not marrying me wasn't personal. It was her diseased brain latching onto a fear of loss. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Mark was in shock. His mother wasn't a monster. She was sick. And we'd had her physically removed from the most important day of our lives while she was in a state of medical crisis. Mark's dad said he came to tell us because Linda's condition has worsened rapidly in the past month. She's now in a memory care facility. She has good days and bad days. On good days, she cries about missing Mark and not understanding why he won't visit her. On bad days, she doesn't remember she has a son at all. Mark immediately wanted to go see her. We went to the facility that same day. When we walked in, Linda looked at Mark for a long moment, and then her face lit up. She said, "Marky, my baby boy, you came to visit." She was sweet and loving, nothing like the woman from the wedding. She held his hand and told him how proud she was of him. She didn't recognize me at all. She asked Mark if I was his girlfriend and told him I was very pretty. When Mark said I was his wife, she looked confused and said he wasn't married, was he? Then she changed the subject entirely. We stayed for an hour. Toward the end, Linda got agitated and didn't know where she was. A nurse had to help calm her down. She looked at Mark like he was a stranger and asked him to leave. It was heartbreaking. Now I'm drowning in guilt. I had a sick woman removed from my wedding. Yes, I didn't know she was sick, but does that matter? Mark is devastated and blames himself for not noticing the signs earlier. His dad is angry at himself for not telling us sooner. The whole family is in shambles. Mark wants to rebuild a relationship with his mother while she still has some memory left. We visit her twice a week now. Sometimes she knows who we are, sometimes she doesn't. His extended family has apologized to us now that they understand what happened. Mark's sister called sobbing, saying she's sorry for excluding us and begging us to come to her wedding. But I can't shake the image of Linda being escorted out of my wedding by security guards while everyone stared. I can't unhear her screaming. And now I know she was scared and confused and didn't understand what was happening. I keep thinking about how terrified she must have been. My friends say I couldn't have known and I made a reasonable decision based on the information I had. My therapist says I need to forgive myself. But how do I forgive myself for having a woman with dementia dragged out of a wedding by security? So, am I the jerk? I know I didn't know about the dementia, but does that even matter? Let me know in the comments section.